Greetings, friends. I'm David J Coon with Qigong Awareness, author of Qigong for Beginners, Your Path to Greater Health and Vitality. Today, for vlog number 40, I am looking to speak to you today about the power of now in conjunction with Qigong. So, Qigong and the power of now, power of right now. So, Power of Now is an Eckart Tolle book. There's a title for a book. It's a very old teaching. It's called the present moment, this idea, the present moment, as opposed to the past or the future. And if we speak historically, this idea of being present and being in the now has been around for a long time. It's funny how time is. It's been around for a long time. And yet all time is now. That's an idea from physics. I won't get into that part too much for right now. You see all the puns here on now and the focus of now. But how is this helpful in our life? How is this idea of now helpful? And what does it mean to say like power of now and being present and all of this? If you're new to this kind of language, what does it mean? And because I am a practitioner of Qigong for almost 40 years, and a practitioner of martial arts for almost 40 years, and a practitioner of meditation for almost 40 years, and other forms of mindful practice, for me, being present and being aware and being alert and being awake, which is all part of meditation, the practice of meditation, for example. Meditation is not sleep, and meditation is not like everyday waking state. It's somewhere in between. It is a very, very powerful state on the level that it is. And whenever we are present, meaning we are not engaged emotionally in our past. You know what that means? Simple way of saying what that means. We're not stressed out about yesterday. Okay, we're not freaking out because something happened today that reminded us of yesterday. And if we are, then if we have a practice like Qigong, if we have a practice like meditation or yogic practices, then you can come back to your breath. You can calm your nervous system, which is a skill. It's not just an idea, it's an actual skill. You have to practice it. But if you can practice it and you can do it and successfully accomplish it, then you bring yourself back to the present moment. You bring yourself back to the now. Okay? So let's just say you went on a trip and you were going on vacation and everything was going really well until you got to the hotel. And when you got to the hotel, it turns out they didn't have a room for you, even though that, they said they were going to have a room. You show up and it's we don't want to put this out in your law of attraction, okay? This doesn't need to happen to you. It's just a story somebody else experienced, okay? But they go and there's no hotel room. It's happened to me before, so I'm not afraid about talking about it anyway. But you show up and right away, that's a pretty stressful situation, especially depending on how far you traveled, from. And you can get really upset about that. You can get really into a big conflict about it. And immediately, whenever this is like a new age kind of teaching, but it's also old school teaching. The new age phraseology for it is as you resist, things persist. So if I fight against what's happening, things may just get worse. Lao Tzu and other teachers of that particular sort of Taoist or Buddhist type of path, teachers on that side of things. Lao Tzu, for example, would say, follow the path of least resistance, meaning like flow like water. I've heard this in Catholic or Christian churches, sometimes have shared the idea that says when God closes a door, he opens a window. That's an idea that brings you back to the present moment, okay? So if something is not going well in your life and you're wrestling with some particular subject, whatever it is, try and calm down. Now, being a Qigong teacher and being a meditation teacher and being a martial arts teacher and, other things, life coach and mentor and so on and so forth, I'm not going to just tell you to calm down. I'm going to say, come train with me and learn how to calm down when things are relatively calm. Because if you don't learn how to calm down when things are relatively calm, it's very difficult to calm down when things are heightened and there's much more going on. Okay? But what does it mean again to say power of now? It means come back to the present moment. It means calm yourself, which is easier said than done, unless you train a lot. If you don't train a lot, then every little thing that happens begins to ratchet things up and make things worse. So if you're frustrated, if you're tired, if you're worn down, if you're exhausted, you want to get off the hamster wheel, okay? Sometimes just taking a vacation and going to another, whatever it is, your favorite island or whatever, right? Go to Hawaii or something. It doesn't always cut it, especially if you show up and they don't have a room for you, right? That doesn't exactly cut it. Your stress doesn't go away, right? So, a practice that I recommend to have in your life on a daily basis is to have some form of breathing and some form of meditation, whether it's still meditation, whether it's movement meditation. Qigong has both of those. Whether it's a breathing meditation, Qigong has a lot of those. Um, Doing something that brings you back to your breath and calms your body down. Because in order to have greater options from right where you are, you have to calm yourself down. I remember one of my teachers saying, because in Qigong practice, we talk about centering, we're talking about coming back to our center, right? And so that's like our inner self or our inner space, right? And we call it center and we call it centering. So it's a Zen idea as well. So when we come back and we practice centering and coming back to our center, when I remember one of my teachers saying many years ago that it's like you're on the hub of a wheel and you have all these spokes, right, coming from the hub on your bicycle wheel or something. When you come back to center, it brings you back to the center of the hub. And then you can go any direction from there. You have all these different paths to choose from, okay? But if you're on one spoke of the wheel and you're out of center and things are getting progressively worse, that path needs more than hope because things are not headed in a good direction. There's a momentum there that you may not like. So if you want to have greater options, you have to come back to the center. You have to come back to the power of now, where uh, not just decisions can be made, which is true, but first you need the clarity. And then if you have the clarity that comes from centering practice, if you have the clarity, then you can make a new decision that's actually going to make a difference in your Groundhog Day. Okay? It's going to lighten up your Groundhog Day. And man, I've lived there. I know how hard it is. Not to say I don't ever live there these days. I do, but at least I know the practice that I need to get back to in order to regain my clarity and then head off on in a different direction. Many people, I'll say it that way, many people um, are in the throes of that and they have no idea what center even is as a concept, let alone as a practice. So today I'm sharing with you what the concept is, and I'm hinting you in the direction of some practices that can help you. Okay? A very simple practice, which I will give you today before we leave, because I'm a teacher. I have to give you a practice, right? Talked about practices. I don't want to leave you without at least one practice, even though I'm pointing you at other practices that you might want to be doing and incorporating in your life. But one practice is very simple. It's so simple. People don't do it. Are you ready to do it with me? Let's do it. We're sitting here or you're standing, it doesn't matter. This is such a simple practice. You don't have time to do an hour of Qigong or whatever right now, let's say. But you have time for one simple practice that is going to change whether you get the hotel room or you have to go searching elsewhere and the whole city is blocked up. I could tell you stories where that's happened to me. I took 3 deep breaths and I just waited for my reality to shift. I waited for a new story to come. Sometimes it took 5 minutes, sometimes it took 3 hours, whatever, but it's always shifted for me. That's what it means to be a creator, a manifester, right? You have the power to do that, whether you realize it or not. Okay? But it starts with practice. Nobody gets good at this, at anything, without practice. So let's practice taking 3 simple, deep breaths and see how we feel after that. All right. So the first tip I have for you, aside from taking 3 deep breaths, is to do this thing first. Are you ready? Exhale your breath out. Go. Now slow through your nose. Inhale. Exhale your breath through your nose if you can. You might enjoy it if you close your eyes. I'm going to breathe through my nose again, second time. I'm going to imagine pulling the energy up my spine. I'm actually going to hold my breath for a second, and then I'm going to let my breath out. And sometimes, like, even if we're just stretching in the lobby of the hotel, I might actually inhale through the nose as I raise my hands and just even stretch. Inhale, I'm telling that energy to go up, up, up and expand. And I exhale. In a basic Qigong practice, we might do this practice where we just bring our hands slowly back down with the breath. So whether you do that or not. And then I'm going to take a 4th inhale, exhale, just because it felt so good. And then I'm just like, okay, I'm like catching up with myself now. 4th breath. Okay. One more, 5th breath. As you become better at this, it will quiet your mind more quickly. It will start to calm things down inside of you, and that will calm down the clerk who is now going to get on the phone and hopefully help you find a new room. It's not so much about that story, it could be any story. But if you want to get off the hamster wheel and you don't want to stay in the rat race or whatever you want to say, and you'd like to bring about the manifestation that you're seeking rather than getting hit in the face again with whatever this thing is, and then you're resisting it and persists and persists, and back and forth and back and forth, then you're in Groundhog Day. It's like a dog chasing its tail. Round and round and round you go. So many people living there on a daily basis. Once you take the 3 deep breaths, once you come back to some clarity, once you practice Qigong, imagine 3 breaths does something good. Imagine what practicing Qigong 60 minutes a week would do, or 30 minutes a week, or whatever the case may be, okay? Highly recommend a practice so that you can come back to the center, your center, the center of the hub, and then it gives you all these different options on the wheel of what direction you're going to go next to improve your life. Thanks for tuning in. Remember the practice of 3 deep breaths and practice it whenever you need it, which is at least once every day. All right. Take care, guys.